still flashing, so if that does keep going off and on, I'll change it. Hi everyone, again. It's the third time I've said hello now, isn't it? Let's see. I feel like a substitute today, if I'm honest with you, because I'm leading the worship because John's on holiday and it's not my turn to do it, it's normally his turn. And I'm preaching because Andy Worley's not preaching today, so I need one of those substitute boards holding up. In I come. Just keep cutting out this. Yeah, the batteries are dead in this, so just get rid of this one. Hopefully, a stretch. I'll stand here, it's the best thing. It's fine. That'll be fine. Is that all right? You'll hear me? Yeah, fantastic. So first I'll just look at John 4, verses 23 to 24. But before I do, I don't think it's right to say anything until I've just mentioned the horrific thing that happened this week, where a fellow brother was martyred for his faith. And you can say it was because he was white, you could say because he didn't support abortion or he didn't support this, but the truth is he was martyred because he's a Christian. And I was reminded again, like I saw from of in Acts when Stephen was martyred and Jesus was stood there welcoming him in. And that's the vision I got, not the vision, the thought I had when Charlie Kirk was murdered on Wednesday. I just thought Jesus was welcoming him in. But I thought it wasn't right to start saying anything until we've just at least acknowledged that, because that's a fellow brother that's died because he's a Christian. So we're going to look at John 4, verses 23 to 24. And it says this: "Yet a time is coming, and has now come, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth. For they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is Spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the Spirit and in truth." Now, a few weeks ago, I don't know if anyone remembers, we did the song, "When the Music Fades, All is Stripped Away." It's called "The Heart of Worship." And a few weeks ago when I was preparing, every week we pick the songs and I just run through them on my guitar, make sure we've got them all okay. And I was just going through this song and it suddenly struck me in a new way. It was released back in 1999 and I've been singing that song virtually since its release in one way or another. But this time I was playing through it, it just brought me to tears. And I began to reflect not just on worship, but also on the church more widely. Not just this church, but the church in general. And from that, I wanted to ask three questions, which I've thought about when preparing this word. And today's message is built around those questions. But first of all, I thought it was, just to give you a little bit of background to that song, "The Heart of Worship." Matt Redman, who wrote it, went to a church called Soul Survivor, and quite a famous pastor, his name was Mike Pilavachi. And around that time, around the time he wrote this song, this pastor was concerned that worship had become too focused on performance and props, things like instruments, the sound, the PA, everything. So we decided to strip away everything. So there was no mics, there was no instruments, there was no just voices worshipping God, and that's what he decided to do. And at first they thought this was a bit awkward, this is a bit hard to do, it's a bit strange. But as they stuck with it, the congregation found a deeper encounter with God through just simple, heartfelt worship to him. And Matt Redman's response was he wrote this song, "The Heart of Worship." Lyrics like, "When the music fades, all is stripped away, and I'll simply come," reflect that season that he was in at the time, the church was in. You see, the message from that is that worship is more than a song or a performance. It's not a performance at all. It's a genuine, heartfelt response to God's worth. And the impact of that song is it became an anthem worldwide, reminding churches to focus on Jesus and not presentation. So the first question I led myself to ask was based on the lyrics at the beginning of the song that say this: when the music fades, all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth that will bless your heart. And I asked myself this: what am I bringing that's of worth to bless God's heart? And if you remember when I spoke, the last time I spoke, I talked about us, ourselves as Christians, being worthy in God's eyes. And that's true. So if we bring ourselves fully to God, that's definitely something that's of worth. But then went a little bit further and asked, but how much of ourselves are we actually giving to him? What am I, and I asked the question out to everyone else, what are you really bringing to bless God's heart? As you all know, I like to dig into statistics and things and stats, and I got a couple here. So Premier Christian Radio 6 years ago, back in 2019, did a survey, and it doesn't say how many Christians were surveyed, but it said that 9% of Christians say that they read the Bible daily. 13% said they read it a few times a week. That's probably 2 or 3 times a week, I would imagine. And 51% said they read it a few times a year. So again, maybe 10 times a year, something like that. It didn't say this figure, but if you add all those figures up, that leaves 27% not reading it at all. 27% of people not reading it at all. The same organisation, Premier Christian Radio, did another survey in 2020 about prayer, and it said that 38% of UK Christians pray regularly. And again, what regularly means, it doesn't say. And that's compared to 52% of people from other faiths who pray regularly to their gods, with a small g. And I know Christian is just one faith and all the religions are bumped together, but that's the stat. So 38% of UK Christians pray regularly. You see, singing a few songs on a Sunday is not enough. Worship should be extending to our everyday life when you think of what we're bringing that's of worth that will bless God's heart. There's one example that I can give you of bringing something of worth, and she's going to hate me for it, but it's my friend Sheila over there. Now, Sheila at the moment is going through a lot of pain with her shoulder and things. But you wouldn't know unless you spoke to her, unless you asked her, because she won't tell you. But you still see her on a Sunday playing a piano. You still see her on a Monday morning faithfully at breakfast, and she'll go and talk to people about Jesus. But sometimes more importantly than that, she'll just sit there and listen to them as they speak to her. And she shows Jesus. Tuesday, she'll be here at practice. And she'll be blessing us as she's here. And she'll go into prayer 9 times out of 10, if she can. Friday, she often leads the group, but she's always there if she's not leading. Wednesdays, now it's Wednesdays for her, she's at home group every 2 weeks. And then the cycle repeats itself. And I don't know about you, but there's a lady that's giving something that's of worth, that's blessing God's heart. And that's an example that we should follow. Question 2, I asked myself, were based on these lyrics. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the way things appear, you're looking into my heart. And that question is, am I bringing more than just a song? You see, sometimes we sing about God or we sing to God without truly worshipping him. And that can be true of all of us. I mean, I've sat in places and just kind of blasé sang the songs. But if that's the case, I mean, we may as well be singing anything, we may as well be singing Careless Whisper for all it matters. Because if we bring in just a song, it's not what God has required. I mean, he loves us to sing songs, but when we're singing it from our heart, and not just for the sake of it. As I've said before, Christians don't tell lies 9 times out of 10. They sing them. And we don't want to be that kind of Christian that will be singing the lies. When we're singing these songs, we need to mean them. And again, worship's meant to include the gifts of the Spirit. And 1 Corinthians 12 verses 7 to 11 backs this up, if I can have that one on. It says this, "Now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one, there is given through the Spirit a message of wisdom, to another a message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by that one Spirit, to another miraculous powers, to another prophecy, to another distinguishing between spirits, to another speaking in different kinds of tongues, and to still another the interpretation of tongues. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and he distributes them to each one just as he determines." And then I've made it more personal to our church. And bless some of the people here today that have stood up and said things. But when did we last see some of these gifts manifest in worship in this church? When was the last time somebody spoke in tongues here? When was the last time a prophecy came? I mean, I'd like to say, bless some of the people that have brought prayers today and who've brought songs, who've brought words. But we need to be seeing these on a regular basis. I think we can all remember when Brian was here, when Brian used to sit over there, and he used to sing a song out from the congregation, didn't he? He used to pray, and I'm sure it blessed us all, didn't it, when he did it? And he's not here anymore. And I know some of us probably need to take up that baton. But like I say, it's not like we're not all doing it, and I'm not criticising anyone. But I'm just saying, this passage in 1 Corinthians says that we should be doing this more and more. You see, when we think about Brian, there was a man who was bringing more than just a song, wasn't it? Now, the words or the phrase, "fear not" or "do not be afraid," depending on your translation, appears 144 times in the Bible. We need to step out boldly and use our gifts. Because I know 100% when the Spirit's moving in this place, people will have something on their heart. But I know fear, because it's happened to me, fear or anxiety or not doing it because other people aren't doing it can put you off. I mean, I've had it. I don't even want to put my hands up sometimes because I feel like people are watching. And that's silly, isn't it? You know, it's silly. We shouldn't be scared. Especially when the Bible 144 times says, "do not be afraid." So I urge you to step out boldly and use your gifts and bring more than just a song. Question 3 is based around the lyrics of the chorus, which say, "I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus." And this made me ask the question, have we lost reverence for God? We know it's all about Jesus, but do we sometimes forget this truth? Or even worse, do we sometimes act like we don't even care? And again, I know I've been there. And we sing it's all about Jesus. Like I said earlier, we sing the songs, but we're not even really thinking about them. But we don't want to be in that position where we lose that reverence for God. Hebrews 12 verse 28 says this, "Since we are receiving the kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful and so worship God acceptably with reverence and awe." See, this verse is clearly saying that worship isn't casual. It's about coming before God with awe and reverence. Psalm 2 verse 11 says, "Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling." And this doesn't mean trembling from being scared, but it means trembling because we're about to enter the presence of the living God, the creator of the universe. And if that doesn't hit you differently, if that doesn't make you think, then we need to get ourselves into a place where we're actually realising when we step into this place, we're coming into the presence of the living God. When we step into worship, should I say, not necessarily the building, but when we step in and we start praising and worshipping him, That's what we're doing. We're stepping into the presence of the living God. I mean, it's the old cliche comparison, but if you were meeting somebody famous that you liked, a celebrity or whatever, you'd want to show your best to them, wouldn't you? You'd want to, dress up smart or whatever else it might be. But how much more does God deserve than that? How much more should we be giving to God than that when we meet with him? I mean, I look at Jean every Sunday. Now, I'm not saying we need to come to church dressed, suited and booted, but Jean feels that to come to church, she wants to dress smart. And that's beautiful, because she's coming to God with reverence and awe, because she's coming to church. And like I say, I'm not saying we need to do that, it's about our heart. But Jean's just a physical example of that. Leviticus 9, verse 30 says, "You shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord." You see, reverence includes how we treat God's house, which to us is this building, and the sanctuary is this room. It's how we treat God's day, which to us again is a Sunday, and how we treat God's presence, which should be with us all the time. But if we worship, if we've physically come here to worship him, that's what it means. And I sometimes feel like, as a church, and I include myself in this, that we don't have the reverence that God deserves and desires. Now, I'm seeing James posting messages on the chat saying, please, can you be on time for the children's songs they do at the beginning and be ready for 10:45. And I mean, bless him for doing that. Do you know what I mean? Bless him. But how tragic that a pastor has to remind his congregation to come to church on time. If church starts at 10:45, let's be here ready to worship God. And I know the circumstances. I'm not criticising anyone. I'm not having a go at anyone. But we need to be here ready to worship, if you can be. If you physically can be. And we must ask, does this show reverence for God and his sanctuary? Like what we're commanded in that last passage we just read. Leviticus 19, verse 30. And it's backed up in the New Testament as well, as we've already looked at. So it's relevant. It's not an old law that's outdated. See, the Bible is crystal clear. Worship with reverence. But I don't want anybody, like I said earlier, I don't want people feeling condemned. I do want you to feel challenged, but I don't want you to feel condemned. Because it's not too late to change. Like the song says that we sing, I'm coming back to the heart of worship. If you're coming back, it suggests you weren't there wholeheartedly to begin with. Because it's all about Jesus. I would urge us all, let's today choose to come back to that heart of worship with reverence, awe, and a readiness to meet him. Now, I just wanted to look for a second at some more statistics in relation to the state of the world at the moment. So these are stats relating to England and Wales. And the question I ask, just to start this little section off, is, are we to blame? Now, there was an organisation called Faith Survey in 2016. They predicted that by 2025, church attendance in England and Wales would be at just 4% of the population going to church. Now, the Bible Society, another organisation, did another survey, or another whatever you call it, in April 2025, and they discovered that the actual attendance is 12%. So that's better than the 4% that was predicted, mainly thanks to the younger generation, which is a good sign, some of the 20-year-olds and that kind of age. But it is still low, isn't it? Then I started calculating some things, and out of 61.8 million people in England and Wales, that's how many people are in England and Wales, that means that 7.4 million are attending church, which leaves 54.4 million not attending. And then if we take those figures that we had from when I first started, We talked about 9% of Christians read the Bible, specifically Christians. If we put that 9% of Christians reading the Bible daily into the 7.4 million of people that attend the church in England and Wales, that's roughly 666,000. 666,000 people in England and Wales say that they read their Bible daily. And I know these figures are from different dates, so don't take them with a pinch of salt, but there could be a bit of a leeway on them. But if we put that 666,000 back into the population of England and Wales, which is 61.8 million, that means that just 1.07% of the population of England and Wales read their Bible daily. 9% of Christians, but 1.07% of the population. And just so that hits home, 1.5% of England and Wales identify as gay. 6.5% identify as Muslim or Islamic or Islam. And 37.2% identify as atheist. If it's not a sobering thought that fewer people read the Bible daily than identify as gay, then there's something wrong with us. You see, we complain about the state of the nation. We moan about what's going on in the government and what's going on across the world. Yet only 1% of us read the Bible daily. And that's why I ask this question again. Are we to blame for the spiritual state of this country and of this world? I don't want us as Christians to fall asleep spiritually, and I'm sure none of us do. Matthew 26, verses 36 to 46. I'll read this out for you because I was reminded of this when I was going through those stats. It says this: Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for just 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." You see, Jesus asked his disciples to watch and pray in that garden just before he was about to go through the most horrific thing that anyone could go through. But he found them asleep 3 times. Likewise, he's asked us to read the scriptures, he's asked us to pray. My challenge is he going to find us when he comes back sleeping? Just like he found his disciples. You see, God is troubled by this world. I'm sure he is. I can't speak on behalf of God, but I'm sure he doesn't look at this world and think, "That's great, keep it up," when you see some of the rubbish that's going on right now. But I think he's probably more troubled by the fact that his people, most of them anyway, are spiritually asleep. You see, if only 1% of people, maybe it's not 1% of Christians, it's 1% of people, so that includes atheists and every other religion. But if only 1% of this nation is reading the scriptures daily, that suggests that 99% of it is spiritually asleep, whether you claim to be Christian or not. And this, I believe, is why our world, and particularly this country, is in such a mess right now. The weight falls heavily on too few. Again, as I've said, if you feel convicted, I don't want anyone to feel condemned. It's not a message of condemnation. It's a challenge. I'm hoping it's a challenging message if it does affect you, because I'm sure many of us in this room will read our Bibles daily, will pray daily, and will come into this place with reverence and awe. And I'm sure I'm speaking people like that, they're agreeing with me. But if there's just one or two people, whatever that might be, that aren't right now, just be challenged by it. But don't go away feeling like, oh, Andrew's had a go at me, because that's not what I want. And plus, it's the scriptures anyway. I'm just reusing them. But yeah, please be challenged. And a couple of practical things you can do. And I'm sure I said this last time, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. Pick up your Bible daily. If you don't know, and if you say to me, Andrew, I don't know how to read it, I look at it and it don't make any sense, just start by reading a chapter a day. If you don't even know where to start with the Gospel of John, okay? Start with the Gospel of God, John, and read a chapter a day as a start. I'm not saying that's where you start and finish forever, but if you're not reading it daily, please start with that. Let's get that 1% a bit higher. I would urge you to pray daily. And again, if you don't know how to pray, remember what James told us last week with the axe? Go and watch his video again, and he taught you a good little system there on how to pray and keep on track. But remember, Jesus taught us how to pray as well. And even if you want to go back to that simple, the way Jesus taught us, then just repeat the Lord's Prayer. And from that, go off and pray yourself. But Jesus taught us how we should pray. Another practical thing you can do is come ready on a Sunday, because Sunday's the day we meet. Come ready to bring a word, a prayer, a prophecy, or even a song, just like Sheila did today, a spontaneous song, just like Faye brought a word, just like my friend James over there brought a prayer. And that blesses God's heart, but it also blesses us up here on the worship team. Because what we can do on the worship team is we can try and create a little bit of space for that to happen, but ultimately the congregation needs to step into that then. So I thank the people that do. Not from me, but it does bless us as well. But the last thing I want to say is, please let's just bring in more than a song. Because a song in itself is not what he's required. Thank you.